Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining on a weekday. Um, I just want to make a quick intro. My name is Siva Nataraja, President and co-founder of JOGO Health. You might have seen me on the video on vFunder. I'm joined here today by our CEO, Sanjay Murali, um, and we'll get started. I think thanks for giving an hour of your on a weekday. All right, we just start sharing. So we are JOGO Health. Uh, we are part of Mayo Clinic Ventures. You probably saw we are funded by Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic is also a co-development partner for JOGO Health. We came out of two incubators. One of them was Johnson Johnson Innovation Labs at UPenn here in Philadelphia, and also at UMass Lowell M2D2 Biotech Innovations in Boston. Our research partners are Brigham's and Women's Hospital, Harvard Medical School, that's on the pain side, and on movement disorders, Mayo Clinic is our clinical partner, as you may expect. They also invested in us. So I want to introduce want to start with why I joined the company, because that's a story that you want to hear. Before that, I want to get the legal aspects out of the way. Anything that we say about statements about financial outlook is all forward-looking information. It's important that you understand about activities, M&A activities. We talk about global growth, are all forward-looking statements. I'll give maybe 10 seconds for you to read this. Typical of any company that's raising funds from public. Okay, so I come from pharma. I worked in pharma for many, many years. My entire life has been in pharmaceutical industry. And I was actually in the post clinical approval and marketing of a lot of brands. Some of the brands that I worked on were Botox, not on the cosmetic side, but on the spasticity, treating conditions like cerebral palsy and stroke. Botox is used for that. The other brand I worked on was Lyrica. Lyrica, if you all remember, is one of the, I guess, historically the highest selling drug in the world, used for neuropathic pain. And Viagra is the other one everyone is familiar with. These are some of the brands that I worked on in my life and launching. Then in 2010, I quit my consulting job from pharma and I started my first company. The company was basically using, at today's age, we could have called it AI, but it used machine learning to find adverse reactions of drugs or side effects of drugs. And the company did very well. My last venture, we had many customers, including large pharmaceutical companies, using my product. And we sold the company to IQVIA. Many of you, if you're in healthcare, you might have heard of IQVIA, but if you're not, probably this is a company that you've never heard of. They are one of the Fortune's most respected, admired companies, with $15 billion in revenue. And the company is currently valued, I think, about $47 billion. I sold my company to IQVIA. I was even part of the team. Then when IQVIA went public, I was part of the team that was on the road shows, taking the company to the public market. Then while I was working at IQVIA for about 6 years, I was at IQVIA. I met Sanjay. Sanjay came to me pitching JOGO. I was making investments. I was just like you. I was making angel investments in medtech companies. And Sanjay came to me and pitched this idea. Hey, I'm working with two researchers at NYU. One person's name is Dr. Joseph Bradney. He's late Joseph Bradney now. Bradney had died. Um, And Gordon Silverman, famously known for writing this textbook, Cognitive Science, the introduction of study of mind, and also known for inventing the easy pass that we all use to navigate in our highways. Both of them worked with IBM back in the days to create a system that used sensory feedback therapy, basically feeding back your own activity about your muscle to your brain visually. And they found that this can be used to cure diseases like stroke, rehabilitate patients who had nerve damage. And Sanjay said this was working. They were working with IBM at that time. The machine was so bulky and nobody actually could take this machine and put it in other places. So patients were only coming to New York to get treated. So he came to me and said, I have miniaturized it. This is what they created out. This is the demo I saw long back in 2016. He said the science is so solid, it uses something called neuroplasticity, which I've never heard of that term before. And this is now consumable. It's a small device which uses a small sensor, and it uses the app that runs on a Android tablet that patients can take it to their homes and receive this magnificent treatment that was created by these two doctors. And he also said that he named the company after these two doctors. JOGO stands for Joseph and Gordon. I was very fascinated by this. So I wrote a check. Um, it's not a huge $1 million check, but reasonably large check. And I wrote and forgot about it. And then Sanjay and I, we used to meet every week, and he used to give me updates. So then I started to learn how this thing works. So JOGO basically works on the principles of neuroplasticity. So the easiest one is probably stroke. When someone has a stroke, you get a blood clot in the brain, and because of that blood clot or the damage in the brain, your functions, your body doesn't function. You have a paralysis, and your arms don't move, or your fingers you cannot extend. You get dystonia or spasticity, they call it. And by wiring up these sensors into the body, basically putting these sensors in the affected part of the muscles, you're feeding back the electricity that comes out of the muscle, which is EMG, electromyography, visually through an app. It doesn't send in electricity into the body. It's visually training your body through your brain. And after a couple of weeks of practice, the brain tends to rewire itself through the process of neuroplasticity, which sounded fascinating. I went and read a lot of books. I watched a couple of TED videos to understand what it is. And I was really, really fascinated about the concept of neuroplasticity and how this can help not just treat stroke, but many conditions. Then at the same time, I saw some real good actual changes in the brain happening through this treatment through fMRI studies. So here you are seeing a study done in Germany where you see some pre and post test, pre-treatment and post-treatment, where you see actual structural changes in the brain, right? And at the same time, American Congress of Rehabilitation Medicine, ACRM, which is the body that controls rehab medicine, came up with this new networking group called Neuroplasticity, where they could actually thought this is a new way to rehabilitate people of diseases, which has never been tapped into, because it has been physical therapy, injections. Now this whole concept of neuroplasticity. I learned a lot of how this works. Then some interesting case studies came about after I made an investment. The first patient was a patient I saw was his video is on our YouTube channel. His name is Scott. He lives in Atlanta. He had a stroke, and he went through regular rehabilitation. Normally when someone has a stroke, they go through physical therapy, and you get a little better, and that's it. And after that, people still have a lot of disabilities. And he was such one patient. He could not move his fingers. He could not hold on to a cup. He could not even open a door. And he was treated by the team and used JOGO, and he made a very good recovery. And he actually gave a testimonial that just fascinated me, how quickly he was able to get back and go back to even work. Then I saw another patient who had a road accident, and he was reconstructed by plastic surgeons because of so many injuries he had in his body, and he was in coma for 3 months. Came out of coma. he wasn't able to move his body parts. He's not able to even button a shirt. And he was treated with JOGO. I have a video of him. I'll show you how he got treated. And he also made significant recovery. Um, and then this is my brother's friend's daughter in India, and she has cerebral palsy. So cerebral palsy children you probably have seen, they're wheelchair bound. And this child, when she turned 13, she said she doesn't want their parents to carry her to the bathroom. She wanted to walk. And that's the first time my brother contacted me and said, "Hey, can this help?" And I talked to Gary, who's our chief scientific officer, Gary Kroslowski. You're going to see him shortly on a video. So they treated this child, and not that she made full recovery or anything like that. Cerebral palsy is a very hard to treat disease, but she made significant progress that she's able to walk with some support. And she's able to go to the bathroom by herself, which is a huge thing. Then I saw patients in my own family recovering from urinary incontinence. 1 in 3 women in this world suffer from incontinence, um, postpartum, very much. And then my sister-in-law had chronic lower back pain for many years, and she recovered. Her husband is a famous doctor, and they nothing else worked for her, and she made full recovery. All these were happening in the from 2016 onwards, when I decided this is massive opportunity, I should quit my job and join Sanjay to take this forward. That's when I quit my job again for the second time in my career, left a very comfortable corporate job, and came to the startup grind again. And at the same time, I went to my boss. So my boss at IQVIA was Ari Boosby. If you all Google him up, you will find out he's also at the board of Home Depot, advisor to the presidents on healthcare. So I went to him on an exit interview. He asked me why I'm leaving, and I told him about the whole story I just told you all. And he said, "This sounds very fascinating." He knew about neuroplasticity. He also became an investor. He voluntarily invested in the company. And I asked him whether he'd like to join the board. And he voluntarily said, "Yes, I would like to join your board." And the only other companies on the board other than IQA is Home Depot. So it's a great recognition when he came and joined us. Then the first thing we had to do afterwards was bring a good team, because Sanjay was just himself and the physicians that he was working with at NYU. One of them had passed, and the other one is 90 years old. He's still active. He teaches at Columbia. Uh, so we brought in all the folks from that who knew the science. The first thing was we brought in the advisory board from Yale and Harvard Medical School and Columbia, who knew about the science, because we needed people to help us with the clinical trial, and we assembled a team. Um, then we looked at some literature search. So remember, this science was developed way back, and it's not a new science. It's been out there for a very long time. And we looked at which other conditions this science has been studied for. Then it's fascinatingly, I saw this on incontinence, urinary incontinence. 1 in 3 women suffer from it. Pelvic pain, 1 in 7 suffer from it. There are no treatments right now for pelvic pain. And in men's health and premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, neurology on stroke, tremors, multiple sclerosis, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Then on the pain side, cancer pain, chronic lower back pain, osteoarthritis pain, migraine, tension headache, dysphagia, which is a huge thing right now because elderly, we are all of us are getting old and we won't be able to swallow when we get old. Dysphagia is a big one. And chronic constipation, which has a different name called defecation dyskinesia, then fecal incontinence. This has been studied and been there for very long time. And then it also gave me a confidence. This is not a new science. It's been out there. It just basically hasn't been commercialized. So it's much lower risk profile than something completely new. Then we looked at the market. If you just look at only the few conditions like pelvic floor disorders, incontinence, and others, and post-stroke, every 40 seconds someone has a stroke in this country, and chronic pain and Parkinson's. Just some of the diseases alone is worth about $86 billion just for this product. So it is possible that we could be a very big company if we can focus on some of these diseases, just only these diseases. So it just gave me another huge confidence that I could go about doing this. So COVID hit. The time I quit my job was just before COVID, and I joined hands with Sanjay and Gary. And the first thing, COVID hit, then we didn't know what to do. So we went to Harvard Medical School and we tried to do this clinical trial virtually, right? Without anybody going into the clinics. We said, let's do a virtual clinical trial, which kind of worked out very well for us. And we first did a clinical trial on chronic lower back pain during COVID because patients couldn't go to hospitals. And the results were amazing. The results came out and showed that JOGO is better than opioids in treating chronic lower back pain. Think about the impact we could have in this world when, just in the US, how big opioids are. Then we did a second trial that's migraine, and we showed that when you add JOGO to existing treatments, patients are having much better outcome in migraine, and also patients who are pregnant who cannot take medications can take JOGO because it's non-invasive and it doesn't have side effects, and it became a big thing too. So FDA, then we went to FDA. FDA looked at, and FDA gave us a clearance under the 510(k) exemption pathway because this is the most safest and cleanest treatment for many of these things. So, we got the marketing authorization. And also they looked at our data for chronic lower back pain, and they gave us, it's a breakthrough technology. The breakthrough is a very specific thing they give, and there is nothing else out there like this. And they gave us a breakthrough. So we have a breakthrough device designation for chronic lower back pain, and we have clearance to treat many other indications. I just want to put this slide out there to show you the risk factor of investing in a company like this, right? When I invested in this company, it hasn't been cleared by the FDA. We didn't know where we will go, right? So this is a typical life cycle of a drug. It's very similar to a drug. It takes about 16 years for the drug to go to market. It takes 3 to 6 years to do clinical drug discovery, preclinical studies, then clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Then you go and submit to FDA, and FDA looks at and approves it. Then you go for another couple of years to get reimbursed. So I invested somewhere around this time period where there was no clinical data. Basically, this was a product. And then you are coming in at this time. We have been cleared by the FDA. Now we have reimbursement. The risk profile of this has completely changed. Now we just have to execute on this product because we have passed all these crazy milestones that is required: FDA review, FDA clearance, and reimbursement. In a different perspective, this is what happens in a medical technology like ours. First, you need to have a patent. We have a patent, a very good patent that has 18 claims that protects the technology. Then you need to develop clinical evidence, which we have developed clinical evidence. Then you go to FDA. FDA has to review and clear it. That process has been done. Then that doesn't mean you're going to get paid. Then you have to get paid. So now we have a pathway to get paid. Now we are getting reimbursed by Medicare and Medicaid. Then the other important thing is licensing in each state. US, every state we have to get a license. So now we have 3 states that we have license for. 4th one is just getting added: Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Florida. So if you want somebody, most of you investors also reach out to me from some other states and say, hey, can I get this treatment? Unfortunately, not yet in every state. Only these 3, 4 states that we have access to treat. We will soon be launching. That's why we are raising these funds to launch in every 50 states. So that's the current situation of the company. You have passed this big risk factors that I've been talking about in the previous slide about, do you have clinical evidence? Yes. Do you have a patent? Yes. Do you have FDA clearance? Yes. Do you have reimbursement? Yes. These are the questions normally someone would ask in the medical technology, and the risk factor goes away one by one. And we are actually at this stage. We just need the funds to go about and just launch it across the country and the world, right? So how do we do this? So business model is completely new for some technology like this. So we have 2 business models. One is B2C. Patients can come directly to us. We treat the patients and we bill the insurance direct, right? That's one model. The second model is we license our technology to hospitals, clinics, physical therapy clinics, and even other doctors' offices. And we train these physicians, and you get the treatment from there. We get paid for the technology. The reason we had to do a B2C model is because When we went to hospitals and trained them, they said they don't have staff. After COVID, people left the jobs, a huge shortage of staff in medical field right now in the United States. So they said, I don't mind sending patients to you guys. Can you guys treat these patients directly? And we had to go to B2C model. So we created a B2C model. Our eventual goal will be B2B model, but right now we have vertically integrated B2C model where we actually treat patients directly. So which led to these partnerships. So now we have Weill Cornell Medicine in New York City, UMass in Boston, Mount Sinai in New York City, Beth Israel in Boston, Mayo Clinic, all of them sending patients to us. None of these hospitals want to treat inside because they don't have staff. They like our B2C model. They are sending patients to us. We are getting referrals from them and we are treating. We're just scratching the surface. We just have one salesperson now. We are just launching. It's just a matter, the huge demand. Many of these doctors say, I ran out of options for many of these patients, nothing else working, too many side effects. This is the best solution out there, so they're sending patients to us. And some interesting things happened since we launched our vFunder. We won a very prestigious award in front of NVIDIA CEO in California 2 weeks ago, the TIE 50 award. And Fidelis New York is a Medicaid plan. Normally, they don't bring in clinics in network. They allowed us to now become in networks. Now, many of the 2.5 million Medicaid patients in New York City are accessible. JOGO is accessible to them. They can get treated, which is huge. And you're seeing in the third picture, Mount Sinai Hospital residents are actually coming to our clinic in New York City and getting trained on JOGO. So it's all happening as we speak. I want to play this video. I forgot to share the sound. Let me just bear with me and just share one more time so that you could meet the rest of the team members. It's the same video that's on the on vFunder channel, but I wanted to play again so that you could meet the rest of the team members.
Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. Globally, 1 in 4 adults over the age of 25 will have a stroke in their lifetime. 1 in 5 humans suffer from chronic pain. That is about 1.5 billion people worldwide. Incontinence, or inability to control bladder or bowel, affects about 300 million people worldwide, mostly women. And finally, 25 million people worldwide suffer from tremors. Over 360 billion is spent on pharmaceutical and surgical treatments for these conditions with limited outcome. For example, there are no proper alternate to opioids for chronic pain. JOGO, created by late Dr. Joseph Bradney, a neurologist and physiatrist, and Dr. Gordon Silverman, the original creator of EasyPass, uses wearable sensors and an AI-driven app to treat these conditions non-invasively using the science of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections. JOGO recently received marketing authorization in the United States through FDA 510(k) exemption pathway and is currently reimbursed by Medicare and most commercial insurance plans. Our clinical research partners are Brigham and Women's Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and Mayo Clinic. Recently, Mayo Clinic entered into a strategic partnership to develop our tremors and Parkinson's product portfolio and also invested in JOGO Health. So join us and invest in JOGO Health to help those who suffer.
Invest in JOGO Health and help stroke patients move again.
Invest in JOGO Health to help somebody suffering with migraines to get their life back.
Invest in JOGO Health to help patients with Parkinson's disease.
Invest in JOGO Health to help a young mother suffering from incontinence get her confidence back.
So join us and invest in JOGO Health to help those who suffer.
So thank you so much. That's the video. I also want to play a video of a patient who was recently treated with JOGO, who has been suffering from tremors. This is in Boston, in one of the clinics that we have associations with. I would like to play this video.
It's great to meet you. Your name is?
My name is Jerry Giuliano, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Very nice to meet you. So you can tell us how long you've been coming?
Okay, so I come to White's Physical Therapy, have been coming for other reasons. And over time, Doug mentioned to me that there is a program and a device to help me with familial tremors. I've been diagnosed with that many years ago, and for many years I've been taking the drug called primidone. And primidone helps. Uh, Without that, I really shake. But I feel like I shake more than I want to. So with Doug's help, he introduced me to this JOGO machine, and it's provided immense help to me because it gives me feedback immediately, what's going on, and so on. I understand that a lot of this is related to muscle memory, and we can control this muscle memory if we do several things. One is to concentrate. The other is to teach our brain how to move, and part of that is to learn to relax and to breathe and so on. After time, this action would become automatic. So what I've been doing is I get connected to a device and practice raising my arm, raising my fingers, moving my muscles that are controlled by, I don't know what the name of the muscle is, but it's been an enormous help. At first I was skeptical because I had no idea that something like this could help. But it's a visual, and I can see, I can actually control the tremor by watching the graph and seeing the spikes smooth to a place where it provides me with feedback. It tells me that if I continue to practice with this, I can, in fact, control these muscle disorders. I'm 84 years old. I don't expect that things will make me like a 20-year-old, but the help that I've seen already gives me great hope and promise that we can get this thing under control. Thanks to Dr.
Sanjay.
Thank you.
I'm an engineer. I'm just.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
So thanks. That's a beautiful video of this 85-year-old gentleman who has been suffering from tremors, who's still on medications, but you could see him. The medications are not sufficient enough, so he's just benefited a lot. We have thousands of patients like him. We have treated about 20,000, 25,000 patients total across many conditions, but we have great stories like that. Which led to this Mayo Clinic partnership for us. Mayo Clinic very specifically was very interested in our tremors that you saw this gentleman talk about how the tremors work, and the tremor medications don't really fully help patients, and it has so many side effects, and which is what led to the Mayo Clinic partnership and investment from them. I want to show another quick video. It won't take long. So this is the patient I talked about, the roadside accident happened, and he's not able to move any of his body parts. So you could see how this works. So he's trying to hold a cup, and he's watching the screen, and we're teaching him how to hold a cup. You could see that he's struggling to just move many of his muscles after he came out of coma, and regular physical therapy didn't even help him. So the same patient who was struggling, right, and got trained, it took, I think, a couple of weeks after, you're going to see the same patient now function at his work. So he's working at a bottling factory. And we have so many stories like this, that we have patients giving us, hey, I'm able to go back to work just like that. This is the last slide, and I'll get to the investment side, and we had a Q&A. This was a story of a professor at UCLA. This is during COVID. He had a stroke. He teaches filmmaking to Hollywood. And UCLA, he had access to the best rehabilitation post-stroke. But even afterwards, after everything that he had gone through, he lost the ability to write. So think about a professor who is not able to write. He lost his livelihood, basically. They found out about JOGO, then we treated them remotely. And after a couple of weeks, maybe about, I think, 4 weeks later, we got a message saying that, hey, I've regained my function back. I'm able to write. Thanks to you, I am going back to work. So he's now teaching at UCLA, which is a huge thing. There are stories like this, which makes us very, very proud and worthwhile what we are doing of doing this beautiful company. So this round, we are raising $10 million total round, and 5.6 million has already been raised. About 4.7 million came from accredited investors and institutional investors. We have a lead investor who's a venture capital firm. Almost $900,000 that come from VFunder. Some of the comments that you're seeing here from VFunder, people talk about, good product, good cost, patents and sales, life-changing technology. I believe in the leadership team. I love your mission. I invest in JOGO because it's a game changer within clinical industry. And we see a lot of patients invest too, and physicians invest too, it's fantastic when your customers want this. So this is what the call to action is. You go to vfunder.com/JOGO Health. You could type in jogo.health or JOGO Health. Both will take you to VFunder. And you could invest as little as $100. If you're interested in how much the share price is $1.12 is the current share price. It will come to you when you try to invest. It's a priced round, and you could invest. And we want all of you to support this cause, because I believe in crowdfunding. I also believe in venture capital funding too, because you need large amount of checks. But the VFunder thing has always helped us get the message across, because there's also a new treatment. Patients need to know about this. So this crowdfunding investment really helps us advertise this, patients coming to know about this treatment, right? I know we have some questions, so we'll get to questions now. We have another half an hour. That's what we planned, half an hour of presentation and half an hour for questions. Sanjay, you want to take on the questions, Sanjay? Yeah.
The first question is, which countries you plan to move forward first outside USA?
Right. So we currently are approved in the United States, and we are currently in India as well. India, we went because after FDA approval, we did not have reimbursement in the United States until this end of last year. So there was no point doing anything in the United States at that point, because we were not getting paid by Medicare and others. So we went to India because India is cash market. And we were very successful in India. Right now, there are almost 50 hospitals currently prescribed JOGO. India is the first country that went outside of US. The second country we are thinking, is good that you're asking, it could be Canada, because of the demand that we see in Canada. And also the next could be UAE, because we have some hospitals in in Dubai and Abu Dhabi wanting this. I mean, every day I get requests on LinkedIn from countries they want to implement. I get, probably if I count, I think it's probably 50 countries: Africa, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh wanted to implement this, because this is a huge unmet need around the world, right? The market, you saw that how big it is. So right now, to answer your question, Subhash, it's basically US and India are the only countries right now that we have. Next would be Canada and Dubai. So the second question is, does this have application for neuropathy? I'm sure you're talking about neuropathic pain. There is evidence. We have not launched it yet. The literature supports it. So we are doing some more research on this. You want to talk about the central pain mechanism, Sanjay, how this addresses, so that
Yeah, no, definitely. So at some point, the neuropathic pain becomes central, and there's no drugs or pharma treatments that affect the central pain. And the research shows that JOGO-like treatment is very, very effective for dealing with central pain. yes, there's some data that shows that neuropathic pain, it's very, very useful. And we'll be doing studies down the road and
Yeah.
and
We
scaling it up.
haven't launched it yet for neuropathy, so we have to launch it with proper. One of the things we are very careful about, without evidence, doctors don't take it seriously. So we need to do clinical trials before we launch. And we see there is evidence in literature. We have to do some clinical trials for neuropathy. Yeah. If there's something specific, you live in one of those states that we are currently present, we can definitely take a look at that. And the next question is typically how long one patient needs to be treated before feeling reasonable improvement? Great question. So this is not a pill, right? You have to put some effort. So migraine, they normally feel better after the first session, but they have to complete the 6 weeks treatment. But that's when the neuroplasticity takes to kick in. It takes time. Otherwise, you're going and learning about serving in tennis. You feel great, then you go back tomorrow, then you're serving all over the court because the brain hasn't learned it fully. It takes time, 6 weeks for migraine, 8 weeks for low back pain. Stroke takes about, depending on the condition, 6 weeks to sometimes even 3 months. But, we encourage the patient, hey, keep doing it, you'll get it. So some patients, and also depending on when they had the stroke, it depends. So 6 to 8 weeks is a good time frame for many of these conditions. For stroke, it takes time. For Parkinson's disease, it's a neurodegenerative disease and essential tremors too. We don't cure those diseases, right? Because it's a maintenance that we are providing. So they have to keep doing it on a daily basis or weekly basis. So we cannot cure Parkinson's. We are basically providing this as a maintenance therapy for them to slow the progression of the disease. But for other conditions, to answer your question, 6 to 8 weeks. What is the time frame in order for being licensed in every state? So it is taking a lot of time for us to get the credential in each state. So we are kind of changing the model. We're trying to partner with existing clinics in other states so that we can accelerate this process so we don't become the therapy. The reason we wanted to get the license is we for us to treat directly, right? That's the B2B2C model. For the B2B model, we don't need to get a license. We can go and sell this to the technology to clinics. So we are looking at that model. The next state we are looking at is Pennsylvania. We see a lot of patients in Pennsylvania and Connecticut. So right now, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Florida, we have coverage. Next state is Pennsylvania we're looking at, and Connecticut, because we have a sales team that can travel in this. And our next 6 to 12 months plan is to go 50 states pretty quickly. We need to do this. Otherwise, a lot of patients who are waiting on. So if you are very specifically living in any of those states that we don't have presence, please reach out to us. We can probably find some physician or physical therapy clinic who are willing to partner with us, or neurologically, we can train them to provide this treatment and go through. Right? That's the major thing. It's available for cash pay patients in all 50 states. We have therapists, the insurance, right? That's the only reason. Otherwise, we can provide this in every state. Do any commercial insurance plans reimburse for the treatment? Is there a barrier to entry for clinics? Yeah, so no, every plan is paying for this. There is no plans that have refused yet. In every plan, it's a medical necessity now. So they're paying for it, which is important, including Medicaid and managed Medicaid plans. They're paying for it. The device is $2,500 if you want to buy. Patients sometimes buy the device too, or you can subscribe on a monthly basis too, for if you want to pay cash. We also provide this through employers. So if you're one of those who are working for a large employer, and if you want the treatment, go talk to your HR, and many companies willing to pay for it. The first patient I showed you, the stroke patient, their employer covered the cost. Because that time we didn't have coverage in the United States for insurance coverage. The employer paid for it. So that's another way. It's also covered under the HSA and FSA. So you have HSA and FSA. This is covered under the HSA FSA plan. So the licensing is a prohibition only for us to treat directly. Other than that, we don't have any limitations going to other states. So if you live in another state, if you find if we can find a therapist, or if you can find, when I say therapist, a physical therapist or a neurologist who wanted to provide this to you, then we will be happy to supply the technology to them for treat. For us to treat directly, we are only 4 states right now. So to answer last question, it's $2,500 for the device. and that's if your patient wants to buy the device. And commercial insurance, yes, they do all cover this. Yes. There was another question. Oh, competition. So competition, yes. So we do have competition in many ways. One is all of these conditions you could have a drug therapy, right? For migraine, there are drugs. Migraine, there are medical devices. All of them are invasive. We are the only non-invasive treatment that's out there. In incontinence, we compete with surgery. A lot of patients, they sometimes it's convenient for them. They get a surgery done and they walk away. That is a competition for us. It's called sacral neuromodulation surgery. It's about $50,000 cost surgery. And also incontinence, there are medications. Sometimes we compete with diapers for incontinence. People are comfortable wearing them and they don't want treatment. So those are the treatment. Direct competition to this product. So far, no. We have a good patent and we are protected very much. There is only one company that has a larger machine, which is not in use right now. The company is called Labori Systems. They have a big machine for urinary incontinence, which actually it's a very invasive procedure they have, which uses similar technology. And ours is non-invasive. So direct competition, I would say no. Indirect competition, yes, drugs and surgery. Definitely we are competing with them. Drugs and surgery. Many questions for non-provider based patients. This is a telemedicine platform. Yes, it is a telemedicine platform. You can receive this treatment. The only problem with telemedicine is insurance. Some insurances have trouble paying us for the telemedicine due to all kinds of rules they have, but this treatment can be administered telemedicine. So all our employer clients who provide this as a benefit to their employees. So that's something you should ask if you have an employer, go ask your HR. They are willing to provide this as an option for you. That's all 100% telemedicine because there's no problem with the insurance. The employer is paying for it and they don't have any limitations on. So we have employers covering this and that's 100% telemedicine. You don't have to travel at all. It's just for the payment rules of every insurance company that telemedicine is an issue for us. But other than that, there are no limitations in technology. We prefer telemedicine actually, where you could receive this at home. Can those in states where JOGO is not available travel to licensed states? Oh, absolutely, yes. You could come to New York, New Jersey, Florida, Boston and get this treatment, but just stay put with us. We'll soon be launching it nationwide so you can get this treatment across all other places. We won't be launching our own clinics, but we will be basically licensing our technology or franchising this so that you could get this directly. Yeah, you can definitely travel to other states and get this. So the device, patients don't pay anything out of pocket. So the next question is, are you positioning this device as a purchase or a rental? We have both the options. You can rent the device or purchase the device. $2,500 to buy or rent. I think it's $299 a month or something like that. That's if you want it directly without going through insurance. You can purchase it, but you also need to find a clinician who can help you navigating this. But when you're going through insurance, it's normally the regular copay you pay for your visits. That's the only out-of-pocket cost, and that also normally waived in many places and covered. But that's typical copay that you pay for a visit. That you pay. Other than that, you're not paying anything for the device. But if you want to purchase in a cash basis, yes, you have options for rental as well as purchase. How long is your products? Can you answer this, Sanjay? I didn't understand the payback period. The question.
Yeah. So since we have a service model, I mean, for us to recover the cost of the device, it's probably 2 to 3 months with one patient. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And since we are not producing a ton of devices yet, because the volume is just picking up, which is by raising funds, the cost of devices also go down. So we make them in Ireland, in Dublin, right now. Eventually, we will bring it to US manufacturing wise, because we don't produce this in China. We produce in Ireland for various reasons, and we have a really good manufacturer there who makes the device, and the software is developed in the US. Software we develop, and the hardware is developed by a manufacturer in Ireland. The cost is slightly high due to the lack of volume right now. We don't produce like millions of devices yet. We would soon be. Then the cost will come down drastically. Then we can probably look at pricing. The payback period right now is 3 months for the device. How many times per week the treatments typically? So the typical protocol is you're meeting with a therapist once a week, but we prefer 3 times a week. At least you do a practice at home 3 times a week. You're taking the device home. You practice, recommended it at least 3 times a week. Either you meet with a therapist 3 times a week, virtually or in person, or you are practicing this with device 3 times a week. It's because you're talking about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is all about reinforcement learning. You talk about this in AI now, reinforcement learning. The more you reinforce, the brain becomes structurally changes and you get brain control. I mean, it's like building muscle memory, right? You need to practice. 3 times a week is what's recommended. But we have patients who use it only once a week who get better too, but recommended is 3 times a week. Typically, the treatment is like you practice for 30 minutes, 3 times a week. You're not wearing this all the time. 30 minutes. So patients who have migraines, they do it 30 minutes early morning or whenever they feel it, bedtime. People who have tremors, Parkinson's, they normally do it in the afternoon. So they have better sleep because this also helps with sleep for Parkinson's cancer pain patients because you're relaxing your body with the device. That's typically 30 minutes, 3 times a week, I would say is the best recommended time frame. The next question is, can you clarify whether JOGO has received FDA approval and the expected time to go to market, hit revenue? So we are already cleared by the FDA. Medical devices, because we are a medical device, the terminology is not approval, it's clearance. Or in our case, it's a 510K exemption. So we have market authorized by FDA. We can go to market. We are already in the market. We are revenue right now. We are generating revenue. This is the year we are generating revenue because until last year, we didn't have proper reimbursement. 2024 is, we are expecting revenues in around, I would say about $1 million to $3 million this year in revenue. I am in Cleveland, Ohio, curious about Cleveland Clinic Access to Therapy. It's available inside Mayo, not at Cleveland yet. So I'm sure if you talk to them, they will have it. It's not there yet. We will, if you want, we can talk to somebody at Cleveland Clinic and get it. I mean, we just, we don't have a lot of salespeople. That's where it comes down to training, and making sure this is adapted. Absolutely, it'll be soon inside Cleveland Clinic, but if you want to go to Mayo, it's inside Mayo. Yes, Mayo is providing this. Can anyone buy it even in unlicensed states? Yes, you can buy from any state. There's nothing prevents you. The only thing is, if you just by buying, you need also a therapist or a physician that has to work with you, right? So that's the key here. So if you have a patient, if you are a patient, let's say you live in Arizona, Georgia, and you can still buy it. Nothing prevents you from buying it. And we need to find you a licensed therapist in Georgia. We do have people around the country who can treat. The unfortunate thing is these therapists cannot accept insurance yet. That's the process which takes 18 months. Getting you credentialing, getting a clinic's credential with the insurance. Sometimes it takes 18 to 24 months. Such a long process in the United States. There's no shortcut to that. That's the delay that we have right now. Although it's a virtual treatment, the US law says that you need to have physical clinics. So you need to go find a place in every state and set up these clinics. So to answer your question, unlicensed states, yes, you can buy the kit and we will find you a therapist. If you're willing to pay cash, then it's no issues at all. We cover across the state and across all the 50 states. And that could, if you talk to your HR, if you work for a company that willing to reimburse it, they normally reimburse it, or you could use a HSA, FSA cards, or just wait for another 12 months. We'll get at least one place to go in every state, which we just finished up a call before this with a therapy clinic. So that we will get this. Where can you purchase the device? Please get in touch with us through our website. We cannot buy it right now. We don't put it in any stores. You had to purchase it directly from JOGO. We'll take care of that. Please reach out to us and just mention that you are part of the webinar. Do you have any plans for sales and distribution in India, looking for partners? Unfortunately, not yet, because we have a good presence in India right now in major cities. It's growing rapidly in India for us. It's like unbelievable growth we are having there. We will definitely get back to you if you have partnership ideas. Major hospitals in India currently offer JOGO, including Fortis Hospital, and you name it, like many hospitals, if you can get JOGO right now. So because we launched there before US due to reimbursement, we have made a lot of progress, but we'll let you know if you're looking for any distribution partners. If I work in a therapy clinic, can I offer this therapy? Yes, absolutely. So if you are, let's say you are a physical therapist, or you are a clinical psychologist, or even if a licensed clinical social worker can provide this too, we will train you, and will give you a kit for free. That's currently our offer. You don't pay for this, but you're paying us each time the device is used. It's a subscription basis. So let's say you are a physical therapist or a clinical psychologist, neurologist, orthopedic surgeon, whoever you are. You can offer this inside your clinic. We will give training, and you are paying us every time the device is used, that you're used for billing, because each time the device is used, you have opportunity to bill the insurance. And there are CPT codes, if you're familiar with it, that you can use. The next question is, so in the case of telemedicine, the device is shipped to the patient? Yes, the patient receives the kit, and the entire session happens through a HIPAA compliant Zoom. And every time the patient uses the device, the data comes to a cloud, so we can monitor it. It's a cloud-based system. The device is a client, you're using it. And yes, it's a patient's kit. It's a small package you receive. It's a tablet PC. You are receiving a Samsung tablet and a small little sensor. That's all it is. What is your path to profitability time frame? So we think we will be profitable by year 2027 is when we're profitable. We expect to reach $100 million in revenue in 2028. Our exit plans are that we may get acquired by a large medical device company, or even we are thinking of an IPO. So those are some ways that we have exit plans. We may even do an earlier IPO if we wanted to raise a lot of money, because we right now have about $100 million in pipeline. We need a lot of money to execute on this. And you probably know that venture capitalists all want to invest only in AI. Although we use AI, they would just want to just go with the trend. So we may even do an earlier IPO if we cannot raise money from venture capital, because we have a large pipeline that we need to execute, and we need a lot of money. So to answer your question, profitability, think of 2027, 2028 is when we are thinking of an exit, either as an IPO or as an acquisition by a large medical device company. The question is, looks like the device can be self-administered, so you don't need a medical professional present to perform the treatment. The yes and no. So you need a medical professional to guide you through for the sessions. Then after that, you can do your practice at home without the medical professional. So think of like this 6-week treatment protocol for migraine. You are meeting with a doctor, a physical therapist, clinical psychologist, or a clinical social worker, a JOGO certified provider, right? A licensed JOGO certified provider. Unlicensed providers cannot do JOGO. Then you're meeting with them, and they're teaching you how to use the device. Then you're using it, and they're moving you to a next level, right? That also needs a physician or a provider to tell you what to do next. So between sessions, you can do it yourself, right? Practice. Then you're going to the next session, then you need a provider to guide you through what is the next, because the whole protocol, although you can do it by them yourself, it's better to be administered by somebody, so that you have somebody responsible coaching you. Think of like a coach helping you go through this. And that's also required by the insurance to get paid. So insurance require that you have to work with a licensed provider. Otherwise, they won't reimburse for the treatment. But we have patients who have learned it. Let's say they've completed the 6-week treatment for migraine. After that, you don't need a therapist. You actually don't need JOGO afterwards, but some people like to keep it and want to practice. and then you can just do it by yourself. You don't need a coach. The only time you need a throughout use of JOGO is when you have a neurodegenerative disease. You have a patient that has, essential tremors or Parkinsonian tremors, where JOGO doesn't cure it. JOGO is only a maintenance program. The gentleman that you saw on the video from Boston, he got better, but after 6 months, he may need a booster of JOGO because he's having a neurodegenerative disease, right? JOGO doesn't treat neurodegenerative disease. JOGO doesn't cure it, only treats it. Whereas stroke, migraine, chronic low back pain, incontinence, chronic constipation, you just don't need JOGO after 6-7 weeks. You're done. Then you return the kit back or keep it. You don't need to practice. So that's basically what is delivery time. Delivery time being, I think your question relates to when can someone start the treatment. If that's what you're talking about, it all depends on the availability of the physician. The kits are always there for us. So, we have, for example, in our New York clinic right now, we are full. So there's a wait time. In many cases, that's going to be the situation because we have a staff shortage in this country. And I think you're coming from Canada. I don't know what's the situation in Canada. When Canada comes in, we'll find out what's the staff shortage situation in Canada is. Globally, this is an issue that we don't have enough providers. This doesn't require a lot of provider time, but still, you need a provider to start your treatment with. So that requires their availability, basically. But we don't have more than 1 or 2 weeks of wait time right now. We get patients started quickly, but we expect to have wait time in the future. Yeah. So that's basically it. Oh my goodness, we've from a few more questions, Bob. For those who have multiple issues, including migraines, incontinence, injury, can those be treated simultaneously or individually? We prefer to treat, I think I'm not a physician, but this is normally I need to ask a doctor. I think they prefer to treat one at a time because there's too many things going on. The only thing I have seen treated concurrently is incontinence and back pain because there is some interconnection between these two. I have seen that patients getting the treatments for both. But if you're doing migraine, you finish migraine, then you go to incontinence because the protocols are different. And, it's like learning tennis and pickleball together. You feel like confused about both. I practice both, so that's why I can say this from my experience. So we prefer to phase it out. So that's basically it. And oh my goodness, we are like almost to top of the hour. We have one question in the chat. Let me see. Sanjay, do you see that?
I think there's one more on arthritic pain.
You want to take that, Sanjay?
Yeah, so this works for arthritic pain as well. Again, it's the central pain mechanism that's implicated in arthritic pain as well. And there's some studies showing very good improvement with this treatment technique. So yes, it's very, very useful for arthritic pain.
Yeah, but especially osteoarthritis of the knee. I have seen some really good results in patients. It's also published in one of the papers, one of our studies, especially patients, who are having walking issues due to osteoarthritis of the knee. I have seen good outcome.
Yeah, one other comment I would make is that a lot of the pain science is very, very new. I think we've learned a lot about the pain in the last 7 years than the 70 years before that. So this treatment is becoming more and more mainstream. And I think the future looks very good for a non-drug intervention like JOGO.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what even our Mayo Clinic partnership is all about. They wanted a non-drug therapy, which is effective, because most of the drugs, they become maintenance drugs, right? Nobody invents a drug to cure a disease, although it comes from pharma, because that's what makes them money. But this is a treatment that's going to fix the problem rather than fix the root cause. So yeah, the pain science is changing. 2-3 years ago, Lancet, I think, wrote a scathing editorial about how the new pain medicine, whatever is provided right now, is not effective. It's actually making patients worse, addictive, or sometimes even doing the opposite. So
there's a couple other questions about if you want to quickly address it.
Oh, yeah.
Is it used long term for arthritis? Yes. I think you take one course of treatment and then follow up after 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. It's as long as the neuroplastic effect lasts, you wouldn't need another session of treatment. But if it wears off due to just degenerative changes, then you would need treatment.
Yeah. Did I lose you, Sanjay? Sorry. So the last question is, can you get osteoarthritis? The study you mentioned. Yes, I will definitely. I will type my email, mine and Sanjay's email here. So definitely email us. Feel free to email us directly. I'll also share Brian. Brian runs our patient care center. Very, very responsive, so he will get back to you much quicker than myself. So reach out to Brian or myself or Sanjay if you have any more questions. Clinical questions we will be sending to our clinical team. We could only answer to some extent because both of us are not physicians. But any other questions we could quickly answer. The osteoarthritis pain, yes, I will send you the link. There was a question on OA pain. Yeah. So looks like that's it. And people stayed on for the entire hour and we just had 0 drop-offs. That's unbelievable. Thank you so much for your time again. Hope you all will invest in JOGO. Even if you have already invested, please share this with your friends. We need the support. As I said, we have a massive pipeline. We need the money to execute, and we are banking on, basically, we are relying on the public and the investors to help us cross this so that we all will be happy, healthy, and we can help you make some money when we exit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much once again for joining and help us bring this to the world at large. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a question, Sanjay. One more question. Yeah. Richard?
Already invested and really excited about this. Thank you, Marta. Thank you so much for being an enthusiastic supporter. And let's work together and bring this to patients.
Yeah. Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.